What would happen if you could hear the thoughts of any girl without even talking to her? Something similar happens to the hero of our story today, and we'll see how far he can go by taking advantage of this ability in the story ahead. At the beginning of the story, we see Nick Marshall, who works at an advertising agency. Nick grew up in Las Vegas with his single mother, who used to be a showgirl. Because of this, his entire childhood was spent around many beautiful women, and he believes that he understands girls very well. Nick was once married to a woman named Gigi, and they have a 15-year-old daughter named Alex. However, Nick never had a strong bond with Alex. Gigi left Nick and recently got married to a man named Ted. Even so, Nick's life is going smoothly. He's very talented at his job, and also smart at selling products to people. Despite his divorce from Gigi, there are still many women in his life, one of them being his crush, Lola, who works at a coffee shop. Nick knows how to impress women and attract them to him. Now we see Nick going to his office, where he expects to be promoted today. But his boss tells him that women in America are now the biggest buyers of their advertising products. So he has decided to give the position of creative director to a woman named Darcy. She's very smart, and the boss believes that only women will truly understand the kind of work they are doing. He thinks it's a great decision to appoint a woman for this post. After hearing this, Nick feels very disappointed. He's upset because he believed he was the most deserving person for the promotion. Next, we see that Gigi invites Nick to her wedding reception and tells him that she'll be going on a honeymoon with her new husband for 2 weeks. So, Nick has to take care of their daughter Alex until she returns. Nick also finds out that Alex has a boyfriend named Cameron. He doesn't like the idea of his daughter having a boyfriend, but Alex doesn't care about his opinion because Nick was never really present in her life. After this, we see Darcy again. Nick's boss introduces her to all the employees, and then she gives a speech, saying that they will all work together to make the company the best in the market. Then she gives each employee a box filled with girls' products and tells them to bring a creative idea to the party the next day. Inside the boxes, there are many items used by women. Later, when Nick returns home, he tries to come up with an idea to impress female customers, but nothing comes to mind. So, he opens his daughter's bag and plays a pop song. He then starts using the products from the girls' box one by one. While doing this, just as he puts on a bra, Alex arrives with her boyfriend. Seeing her father like this, she feels embarrassed and sends her boyfriend home. Nick tries to explain that he was doing it as part of an experiment, but Alex scolds him and goes to her room. Now Nick is still thinking about a new idea for the advertising campaign. At that moment, he picks up a hairdryer and starts playing with it. Suddenly, he slips and falls into the bathtub while still holding the dryer, which gives him an electric shock and makes him fall unconscious. The next morning, his maid, Nikki, wakes him up to clean the room. Seeing the mess and all the girls' stuff scattered around, she starts wondering what he was doing. Nick tells her that it was just an experiment. But then the maid says, "I didn't say anything." Suddenly, she thinks to herself, "I'll go on a date with my boyfriend today." Nick hears this and wishes her good luck. The maid is shocked and says, "I didn't say anything." Now, as Nick walks outside, he starts hearing the thoughts of all the girls passing by. Some are thinking about their broken coffee machines, while others are thinking about their boyfriends. After reaching his office, Nick's situation gets even worse when he realizes that his coworkers think he's a complete idiot. Some of them believe he's gay, while others mock his unattractive looks. After hearing the thoughts of many women in the office, he finally understands that he can actually hear what girls are thinking, but he still doesn't know why this is happening to him. Using this strange new ability, he finds out that a girl named Darren is planning to commit suicide. He also learns that his secretary, Annie, is unhappy working with him. She even uses the company phone to call her boyfriend, just to take revenge on the company. Now, Nick gets completely fed up from listening to the constant stream of thoughts from all the women around him. When he opens the telephone directory to call a doctor, a coworker shows up and takes him to a meeting. In the meeting room, Darcy is already there along with the other employees. Nick uses his new power to impress Darcy by saying things that girls love to hear. Later, when Nick comes home from work, he finds his daughter getting romantic with her boyfriend. He gets angry and sends the boyfriend away immediately. This makes Alex furious, and she starts shouting nonsense at her father. Now we see that Nick is growing tired of hearing all these negative thoughts about him from the women around him. So, hoping to return to normal, he goes out in the rain holding the same hairdryer, wishing that another electric shock will reverse whatever happened to him. But this time, nothing changes. The next day, Nick visits a therapist and tells her everything. At first, she doesn't believe him, but then Nick tells her exactly what she's thinking in her mind. The therapist decides to test him by thinking something specific, and when Nick says exactly what she was thinking, she is shocked and finally believes him. She tells Nick that he's the luckiest man in the world because he can understand what women really want. She says that with this power, he can rule the world. Nick realizes the truth in her words and becomes very happy. The first thing he does is try to impress his crush, Lola, by using his ability. He tells her everything she wants to hear, and then asks her out on a date. Lola happily agrees. After that, he starts bonding with his coworkers. At the office, he gives Annie a greeting card to pass along to her boyfriend, and he helps Darren with her work. Later, he goes to Darcy, and, by listening to her thoughts, he finds out that she's working on a secret project to save the company. They talk for a long time, and during the conversation, Darcy learns that Nick has a daughter who is about to attend prom. Darcy knows how important a prom dress is for a girl. Since Alex is going to prom, Darcy asks Nick to support her. When Nick returns home, he finds Alex talking with two of her friends about the prom. Nick greets all of them. At first, Alex's friends dislike him, thinking he's a grumpy and strict father. But then, right in front of them, Nick acts like a loving dad. He offers to buy Alex a prom dress, and even apologizes to her for overreacting earlier. Next, Nick goes on a date with Lola. Using his powers, he makes the date special and unforgettable for her. Later, when they go to Lola's house to get intimate, Nick is awkward at first and can't do things properly. Lola starts cursing him in her mind for not doing it right. But when Nick listens to her thoughts carefully and follows exactly what she wants, Lola becomes very happy and deeply impressed. Then, later, we see that Nick starts focusing more on the expressions and behavior of women, and begins improving his communication by talking to them and truly understanding their feelings. He also starts spending more time with Darcy and secretly steals her ideas, presenting them as his own while pretending to help her. Nick impresses Darcy by telling her a story, and she begins to feel that they share many similarities, which makes her start liking him. Meanwhile, Nick's relationship with his daughter also begins to improve, especially when he helps her pick out a dress for the prom dance. Because of this, a stronger bond starts forming between them. While having dinner together, Nick opens up to his daughter and says, "I feel like your boyfriend is just passing time with you. If you're not ready and want to wait for the right guy, then don't let him come too close." But hearing this, Alex becomes upset and tells Nick to stop being an overprotective dad. She thanks him for buying the dress, then walks away. After this, we see Nick spending time with Darcy again. Darcy tells him about her ex-husband, and during this conversation, Nick also hears her inner thoughts. Through this, he understands that Darcy has gone through a lot of emotional pain in her past. Slowly, the two of them grow closer and even kiss each other. But now, as Nick spends more time with Darcy, he starts falling in love with her and realizes that it's wrong to keep cheating her by reading her thoughts. After Darcy leaves, Nick notices that Lola was watching them from outside. Lola becomes angry and tells Nick that her heart is broken because he hasn't even contacted her since the night they were together. Nick feels extremely guilty after hearing this, and in an effort to avoid hurting her further, tells Lola that he's gay and that if he were straight, he would have married her. Lola finds this a bit strange but believes him and then leaves. Now, on the day of the big presentation, Nick has Darcy's ideas with him. But feeling guilty for stealing her ideas, he asks Darcy to give the presentation herself. Darcy refuses and says, "These ideas are yours, so you should be the one to present them." Just before the meeting, Nick runs into Darren and finds out that the reason she had been thinking of committing suicide for the past few days was actually because of him, since he had kept her stuck in the same job position for the last 2 years. Despite all this, Nick impresses the board members with his presentation and wins the competition for the company. He receives all the credit, but deep down, he still feels terrible for cheating Darcy. So, he starts writing a letter to apologize to her. But before he can give it to her, Darcy shows up and takes him to the house she just bought, happily showing him around. In these moments, they grow even closer and share some beautiful time together. The next day, Nick meets with his boss and finds out that he has been promoted to creative director. But along with the promotion, Nick also learns that his boss has fired Darcy, believing she didn't contribute anything in the meeting. Hearing this makes Nick feel even worse. He immediately tells his boss that the entire idea for the presentation was Darcy's and requests him to give Darcy her job back. Then, as Nick is about to go and find Darcy, he learns that Darren, the girl who was once planning to commit suicide, hasn't come to work today. This worries him, and he rushes to her house to check on her. On the way, Nick sees that due to the rain, a power pole explodes and a bolt of electricity strikes him directly. But surprisingly, nothing happens to him. Then after reaching Darren's house, he finds a suicide letter there. But soon he sees that Darren is still alive. To correct his mistake, he tells Darren that he is promoting her, which makes her very happy. But while talking to Darren, Nick suddenly realizes that he can no longer hear her thoughts. This means that the electric shock from the explosion has made him normal again. After this, he goes to Darcy's house, but her door is closed. He assumes that she is not home, so he leaves a voice message for her from outside the house. Then we see that Nick gets a call from Gigi, who tells him that she cannot find Alex anywhere. Worried, Nick rushes straight to the prom and starts looking for his daughter. Eventually, he finds Alex crying in the washroom. Nick asks her what happened, and she says, "My boyfriend broke up with me and left." Nick tells her, "I'm very proud of you." After hearing these words, Alex finally feels comforted. She stops crying and walks out of the washroom. As they come out, she calls Nick Dad for the first time and says, "Take me home, Dad." In the next scene, we see Nick lovingly putting his daughter to sleep. After this, he again goes to Darcy's house at midnight. There, Nick tells her the whole truth, how he had the power to hear women's thoughts, and how he used that power to steal her ideas, just to get promoted at work. He also opens up about his feelings and says, "I misused that power at first, but it's because of that power that I truly fell in love with you." After saying all this, Nick begins to leave, but Darcy stops him and says, "I forgive you. I like you too." Then both of them kiss each other, and the story ends here. So friends, if you liked the story, then like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll meet again with another interesting story.